We all have exactly 24 hours in a day, yet some men build empires, while others spend their entire lives just trying to survive the night. This is the story of Kaelen, a man drowning in the relentless current of poverty. Every day was a desperate race against time. He worked late into the night, his body aching, his mind clouded with anxiety. He believed that the only way to earn more was to sacrifice his sleep, to grind until his hands bled. But the harder he worked in the dark, the further he fell behind. He was a prisoner of his own exhaustion. It happened on a cold winter morning. Kaelen woke up to the sound of the chaotic city, already late, already defeated before his feet touched the floor. He looked at his reflection in a broken mirror. He didn't see a man, he saw a ghost. He was entirely empty. No dreams, no energy, no future. He realized a terrifying truth. Working harder wasn't working. The system he had built for his life was fundamentally broken. He needed a completely different approach, or the weight of his poverty would finally crush him. Seeking silence, Kaelen walked up to the highest hill overlooking the village just before dawn. He thought he would be alone with his despair, but there, sitting perfectly still on a flat stone, was Master Lin. The old man wasn't wealthy, but he possessed a quiet, untouchable power. The village spoke of him with reverence. Kaelen approached him, his voice cracking with desperation. "Master," he pleaded, "I work all night, yet I have nothing. How do I escape this endless cycle?" Master Lin slowly opened his eyes, reflecting the first faint glow of the horizon. Master Lin didn't offer him money. He didn't offer him a better job. He offered him a single, simple rule. You are trying to win the day after the day has already begun, the master said softly. The world belongs to those who conquered the silent hour, the hour before the sun rises, the 5 a.m. hour. While the rest of the world is unconscious, dreaming of success, you must be awake, building it in the silence. The morning does not just give you more time, it gives you a different quality of mind. Hearing the secret is easy. Living it is a war. The next morning, when Kaelen forced himself out of bed at 5 a.m., it felt like physical torture. The air was freezing. His body screamed for rest. The darkness outside his window felt heavy and oppressive. His mind begged him to go back to sleep, whispering lies that one more hour wouldn't matter. This is the exact moment where 99% of people fail. They negotiate with their weakness. But Kaelen remembered the ghost in the mirror. He splashed freezing water on his face and sat at his empty desk. For the first 20 minutes, he just sat there, fighting the fog in his brain. But then, something extraordinary happened. The silence of the world began to enter his mind. There were no demands, no shouting bosses, no chaotic noise of the streets. It was just him, his thoughts, and a blank piece of paper. In that profound quiet, his anxiety melted away. He wasn't rushing. He was finally breathing. He realized that the 5 a.m. hour wasn't just about waking up early. It was a sacred space where nobody could steal his attention. Master Lin had given him a specific instruction. Do not use the first hour to do your regular work. Use it to work on yourself. So Kaelen didn't pick up his tools. Instead, he started to read. He read books about philosophy, about successful men, about the mechanics of wealth. He spent 20 minutes writing down his actual goals, not just his daily worries. He spent 10 minutes sitting in absolute silence, visualizing the man he needed to become. He was planting seeds in the fertile soil of the morning, long before the world woke up to trample on them. Inspiration is temporary. Discipline is permanent. By the third week, the excitement faded. It was raining heavily. The room was freezing, and the bed was incredibly warm. Kaelen sat on the edge of his bed, his face buried in his hands. The voice of his old self was screaming at him to lie back down. It told him that waking up early hadn't made him rich yet. It told him the secret was a lie. This is the invisible wall that separates the average from the exceptional. Kaelen stood up, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. You don't see the grass grow, but eventually it covers the entire field. After 90 days, the impossible happened. Waking up at 5 a.m. was no longer a struggle. It was his nature. Because he spent his mornings reading and planning, he started making smarter decisions during the day. He wasn't just reacting to life anymore. He was designing it. He stopped wasting money on foolish things because his morning journaling had clarified his vision. The small, silent actions he took in the dark were compounding, creating a massive, invisible momentum. Wealth is rarely an accident. It is the result of a clear mind executing a solid plan. Because Kaelen had the quiet mornings to think, he noticed a problem in the village market that everyone else was too busy to see. He used his 5 a.m. hours to draft a business plan. While his competitors were sleeping, Kaelen was building. When he finally launched his new idea, the village was shocked by his sudden success. They called him lucky. They called him an overnight success. They didn't see the hundreds of dark, freezing mornings he spent preparing in silence. The transformation wasn't just financial, it was deeply psychological. There is a specific kind of confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. Because Kaelen conquered the hardest part of his day before the sun even came up, the rest of the world's problems seemed small. People started to treat him differently. They saw a man who was grounded, focused, and unshakable. He didn't have to announce his success. It radiated from him. The poverty of his mind had been cured, and the wealth in his pockets simply followed. Exactly 1 year later, Kaelen walked back up the high hill before dawn. This time, his steps were light, his mind was clear. Master Lin was sitting on the exact same stone. Kaelen didn't ask a question this time. He simply sat down next to the old man, closed his eyes, and absorbed the profound silence. When the sun finally broke the horizon, Master Lin looked at Kaelen, saw the clarity in his eyes, and gave a slow, deep nod of approval. The student had mastered the hardest enemy of all, himself. Many people chase wealth, thinking it will buy them peace. But Kaelen learned that if you master your morning, you generate peace first, and wealth becomes inevitable. He bought a better home for his family, he paid off all his debts, but his most prized possession wasn't gold or land. It was the absolute certainty that no matter what life threw at him, he owned his mind, he owned his time. He was the architect of his reality, simply because he chose to wake up while the world was dreaming. Years later, Kaelen was no longer the desperate, exhausted man drowning in the dark. He was a wealthy, respected elder. One cold evening, a young, tired worker knocked on Kaelen's door, his eyes filled with the exact same desperate exhaustion Kaelen once had. The young man asked, "How'd you do it? How'd you build all of this from nothing?" Kaelen smiled warmly, poured the young man a cup of tea, and looked out toward the dark horizon. "I didn't build this in the daylight," Kaelen said softly. "The daylight is for the harvest. The planting must be done in the dark. If you want to change your entire life, you don't need a miracle. You just need to conquer your pillow. Tomorrow morning, when the world is silent and the stars are still out, I will meet you on the hill. Your new life begins at 5 a.m. The secret is always there, waiting in the silence. The only question is, will you be awake to claim it?"